It's about danger and the repercussions of getting involved.
Make the wrong decision. It could cost you more than what the criminal wanted. WGNO's Kenny Lopez has more at the dilemma of fast decisions. Kenny.
That's right, Kurt and Brittany. Igor's is just the latest business to be hit by criminals. But the employees here did fight back. Crime experts say in that split second you have to make a decision, it must be a smart one. On Monday night, police say 2 armed robbers demanded money from one employee who did comply, but other employees got involved and a fight broke out. Then the suspect's gun went off. The suspects ran away, but luckily no one was injured. This brings up the important question as to when or if citizens not trained in law enforcement should get involved or not.
And the victims of that armed robbery were able to overpower the suspect that was wielding a gun and demanding their property. And their use of force is permissible under Louisiana law.
While in that situation, self-defense was justifiable, Rafael Goyeneche with the Metropolitan Crime Commission says in another recent incident this week, the law is pretty clear. On Shirley Drive in Algiers, a man was arrested after police say he fired 2 shots at 2 teens who were trying to steal his wife's car. In that case, property theft does not justify using deadly force. Now, over here at Igor's, it's been a tough year. Earlier this year, they had 2 incidents where they were robbed at gunpoint. In both those incidents, the robbers were able to get away with the money. Kurt, Brittany, back to you.
Scary situations for those employees. Thank you.
It is unusual, to say the least, this time of year to be tracking 2 systems back to back in the Atlantic.
Meteorologist Brantley Kike joins us now to let us know where these storms are heading. Brantley.
Tropical storm Brett now moving towards the Lesser Antilles, a little bit stronger this afternoon with winds now up to around 65 miles per hour, but we are expecting this to weaken down gradually over the next few days. Here's the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. You can see it takes it through the Lesser Antilles and then towards the Central Caribbean. After that, we're looking at a lot of wind shear, a lot of dry air interacting with this system, so it will likely get torn up towards the Central Caribbean, after that becoming a remnant low and just bringing some rain to portions of Central America. We also have a few spaghetti models that still take this to the farther north, but most of them now trending farther south, and we'll see that pushing more towards Nicaragua and Belize by the weekend. We also have another system right behind it now that has an 80% chance of formation over the next week, 70% within the next 48 hours. So we've gone through Arlene. We have Brett out there right now. The next name on the list is Cindy. So if we see Cindy form, we will likely have our first time on record 2 named systems in the tropical Atlantic in the month of June. So certainly a very busy season start so far, and we're looking at warmer than normal water temperatures across the Atlantic that will continue to fuel some more of these waves that are expected to come off of Africa in the coming weeks. Brittany, Kurt.
All right, thank you, Brantley. Now, a WGNO News exclusive. Last week, the city of New Orleans announced Irvin Mayfield would be the artist in residence for the new Nordsea music program. Tonight, Mayfield and Nordsea's Larry Barabino are speaking only with Moving New Orleans Forward anchor LBJ about the program.
Well, we get the news about a week ago, last Friday, that Nord Commission is launching the inaugural Music Matters Artist in Residence program, and it's a big deal. And joining us to talk about it, Nord Commission CEO Larry Barabino, sir.
Junior.
And the artist in residence, Mr. Irvin Mayfield. Good to see both of you gentlemen. Larry, what an opportunity for our children. Talk to us about this.
Yes, listen, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for our kids, and not just our kids, because we're expanding it throughout, to have an opportunity to work with a 2-time Grammy Award winner with his craft, with his skill sets.
Quickly here, Irvin, as part of your restitution, if you will, to our city, to the society, this becomes a part of that. How did this all come together?
Well, you know, I was actually reached out to by Larry Barabino and the probation office, and then this idea came about and see if I would be interested in that. And when we sat down, it became something much more than that.
Well, we're glad to have you, Larry. There have been questions by others in the media wanting to know how much are you paying Irvin Mayfield to do this thing, to work with our kids? What is this all about?
Sure, it's free. So the programming is free for our kids. There's no contract involved. Irvin is not being paid. As Irvin mentioned, we've had early on, I want to say in January of 2022, had the conversation with Judge Zaney, had the conversation with federal probation and parole. We had the conversation about how to best partner and utilize Irvin's restitution as it relates to his volunteer hours. And our motto is definitely something for everyone. And I think this is a great, great opportunity for the kids and teens that we serve.
My man, Irvin Mayfield. Yes, indeed. Good to see you, Larry Barabino.
Thanks for having me. Junior. Don't forget the junior. Yes, sir.
Don't forget the junior.
Plaquemines Parish is issuing a drinking water advisory for homeowners from the Empire Bridge to Venice. It's due to a high presence of chlorine and sodium in the Mississippi River. While neither is a threat to health, those with high blood pressure or kidney disease are urged to be careful.
A hearing on the NOPD consent decree is wrapping up downtown.
And a big focus today was the Public Integrity Bureau's investigation into Officer Jeffrey Bappy. WGNO's Jordan Lippincott joins us live outside the federal courthouse. Jordan.
Hey, Brittany, Kurt, members of the monitoring team, as well as representatives for NOPD and the city were all present in the courtroom today. The lead monitor said his team analyzed the PIB's report and prepared a series of recommendations and said NOPD failed to respond to the recommendations because they didn't legally need to, and that the PIB's investigation was not a serious misconduct complaint. An attorney representing NOPD said, quote, bodyguard duties don't fall under the consent decree. The attorney also read sworn-in testimony from an NOPD officer, which read investigators felt pressure from the monitors for a specific outcome, and the attorney hinted at political reasons. Ahead of the hearing, a couple of advocacy groups spoke in support of the continuation of the consent decree.
There's so much dysfunction in our city, and so many different people who are giving us answers to the problems in this city, that we, a group of blacks, decided, hey, nothing can be done until the black community is included fully in all of the problems that we have in this city, and the consent decree is one of them.
There will be another hearing next week, and the judge did say she would wish to hear from members of the NOPD versus witness testimony. And coming up at 6, hear what the mayor has to say about the latest in these hearings. Kurt, Brittany?
We'll check back at 6. Thanks, Jordan.
An Orleans Justice Center deputy recruit is fired and arrested after allegedly smuggling contraband into the jail. We're told she was working at the Justice Center since August of last year. Gardner is charged with introducing contraband into a penal institution and malfeasance in office.
A Florida man is booked with second-degree murder, accused of shooting a man in reserve. 44-year-old Ian Williams is behind bars in connection with the murder of Hugh Hines. St. John deputies say earlier this week Hines was found unresponsive inside an SUV in the 5000 block of Homewood Place. He'd been shot in the face and died at the scene.
New at 5, Mayor Cantrell says the woman who was shot last night in the 4600 block of Redwood Street is pregnant. Detectives are currently looking for 4 men as well as a gray Dodge Durango. They say someone shot at the victim's boyfriend while he was picking her up from a house. Cantrell says the woman and baby are okay.
The Coast Guard has a lead, albeit a thin one, in the desperate search to find that missing submersible in the Atlantic with 5 people on board.
Officials are moving assets to the area where they say they heard noise. ABC's Rina Roy reports oxygen for the crew is expected to run out in less than 24 hours.
More help arriving in the frantic search for a missing submersible carrying 5 people that was on a journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic. This Canadian ship with advanced deep sonar now on scene, where crews are scouring more than 10,000 miles of the ocean.
The surface search is now approximately 2 times the size of Connecticut, and the subsurface search is up to 2.5 miles deep. We also have to factor in the ever-changing weather conditions, currents, and sea states that expand the search area every hour.
The U.S. Coast Guard says underwater noises were detected Tuesday morning in the search area and again on Wednesday. The noises described as banging sounds. A team of experts now analyzing the data.
With respect to the noises specifically, we don't know what they are. We're searching in the area where the noises were detected.
Officials estimating oxygen will likely run out by Thursday at 7 a.m. Rescuers fighting the clock but holding on to hope.
We will continue to work as hard and as quickly as possible in an effort to locate them.
The OceanGate Expeditions vessel, called Titan, disappeared 900 miles east of Cape Cod Sunday morning. On board, British explorer and billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son Suleiman, world-renowned Titanic researcher and diver P.H. Narjuleh, and the CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush. Mike Reese has gone on 4 dives with the company, telling ABC that during every single one, the sub lost communications.
It is always in the back of your head that this is dangerous and any small problem will turn into a major catastrophe.
OceanGate has faced scrutiny over the sub's safety features. Back in 2018, the year the vessel was built, members of a committee specializing in submersibles expressed unanimous concern about the sub's safety in a letter obtained by the New York Times and authenticated by ABC News.
Members say OceanGate did make some changes after that letter. And when it comes to those noises, experts say it is important to remember that this search is focused around the wreckage of the Titanic, which could mean metal and debris from the ship could be causing those sounds. Rena Roy, ABC News.